We'll now have a look at location and presence. Now, for location to appear on the left-hand side, you must be at venue level. Location is only available at venue level because you must have uploaded a floor plan to that venue and then assign the relevant APs to that. So the first thing I want to do is click the hierarchical drop down at the top and change this from company down to venue level. Now when the screen updates, you'll notice we've now got the additional location option on the left as well as the presence. So I'm going to click onto location, and you'll notice we then have two subcategories, floor plan management and zone analytics. So let's click floor plan management first of all. So when it loads, it'll load the floor plan that you would have already previously uploaded, and by default it takes you into the edit mode. So this will now allow you to create your relevant edits before you set it to live and start to pulling through the relevant data. Now you'll notice the screen is broken into two areas. We have the left hand side, number of orange options, and the right hand side, we have a number of blue options. And they pretty much both do the same thing. We've got zones on the right and we have zones on the left. But this left hand side is like a quick way for you to add something to the portal or to the floor plan. The right hand side is where you'll go into there and access previous ones, and you'll get more functionality on there. So you could just use this right hand side. It gives you the same feature set as the left, but both are available for quick ease of use. Now at the moment you'll notice we're viewing this at 100%, and because of my screen size I can't see all of the map, so I'm just going to zoom out a little, and then I am able to click into here and I can drag this map where I want it to go. Now the first thing you'll notice, we do have a number of zones already created on here, and if I were just to click this settings button at the top, we can specify what we can view and what we can't view at the moment. So at the moment rail snapping is turned on, exclusion zones, which again I'll go into detail shortly, show and hide zones locations. So if I were to untick zones, as you can see, this is the default view of your floor plan, and obviously only once you start to add the zones do you start to get the colour and the breakdown, where obviously going forward we can start to look at the data collected in these different zones. Now from here on the left hand side we have select and we have pan. Now the pan is just allowing you to maneuver around. The select will allow you to select a particular zone. So you can see here we've selected the zone, it's now highlighted it, it's advised it's exhibit hall A, and allows us to change the style of the zone, the name, or make it an exclusion zone. An exclusion zone would mean that if this particular zone, so this is the zone in question, if this is a no-go area, so no users would ever be in here, making it an exclusion means that if an AP is picking up a signal and it presumes it's within this area, it will automatically push it out to its closest, strongest signal. Because with AP placements, you'll have full coverage of the venue, but even with the market leader, which is Cisco, they still say a 3-meter accuracy. So it could be that the user is stood here, but because of the 3-meter accuracy, it's thinking they're in their zone. Obviously making an exclusion, you know they're not going to be in there, so you can turn that on and it will push them out and increase obviously the accuracy of that user or that device. Back onto the left hand side, and you'll notice it's toggled the side menu away. Because this expands quite a distance, it just makes it easier because you're not likely to be accessing anything on here. It closes that off and it gives it more room to obviously access the relevant information and still see your floor plan. But you do have the toggle switch to put it back if need be. So next then we have add zone. So we've got the different types, we've got polygon, we've got rectangle, and we've got circle. And it's very straightforward to create. You would select your option, so I'm going to choose rectangle. You'll see it now turns to a black plus when you hover over the map. Click once to start the zone. You then drag to the size and area you want it to be, and then click again when finished. Now you'll see the left hand side doesn't say open, the right hand side open. So this is where you give it a name. So I'm going to call this one training. As I've mentioned, you can make an exclusion, and you'll notice at the moment it's blue. If I make it an exclusion, it turns red. And as I said before, that will ping out any users that are seen in there. I can then click save. And now our new zone now appears at the very top. Back onto the left, we've then got add location, add to floor plan, or attach to zone. So attach to zone would mean you would place your location within one of the zones on here, whereas attach to floor plan will let you assign it anywhere. And again, I'm going to click add to floor plan. Now you'll notice a little dot has appeared in here, so I can maneuver this dot around the location. And what we're doing here is we're adding a location. And a location, if you think of a shopping mall that has lots of different locations within, different shops, each location can be a shop within your floor plan. So let's imagine that we're going to assign this particular shop over here, or this location. Click the plus sign, and give it a name. We'll call this one shop 1. Got a category, so is it retail, food and drink, entertainment, etc. So again, this will just put the little icon on the floor plan. So again, if someone looks at it, they quickly know exactly what it is. So let's say this is a first aid station. Now we can add a logo, and we can add a large logo. Now the small logo will appear on here. The large logo will appear on the splash page. And the user is accessing that information and clicking on the location, that big image appears, and any description what you've put on there as well. So it could be a brief description of what's available in that shop, or what services it provides, or available health and safety within that area. But you don't have to add these logos. Now if we click save, you can see it now appears in the list for locations. I can expand that if I wanted to. But if I just close this off, you can see there's my location on my floor plan. And you can have as many locations on the floor plan as required. Next then we have add a rail. And a rail can be perhaps you're giving directions. Rails also work by, whereas an exclusion pushes users out, rails drag users in. Now if you can imagine a supermarket has aisles very close together. So it could be very similar to these escalators. These could be aisles in your supermarket. Because they are so close together, and because of the 3-meter accuracy, you may need to know if someone's in aisle A or in aisle B. So using rails as a form of improving the accuracy is one method, as well as using it for routes. So let's create a rail quickly. So add a rail, you've got a pedestrian. And again, these will determine on the type of floor plan or the location. If you're going to move in location, like a bus depot, for example, then obviously you can use the bus option. But I'm going to use pedestrian. And you'll notice that I've got a little node appearing. So this is where I'm going to start my rail. So I'm going to click once, then drag with my mouse, and as you can see, a line appears. And I'm just going to put it at the end. Now, I could navigate off someone else if I was doing a particular route, but if I'm finished, I just have to press enter. And it's put a node at the beginning, and put a node at the end. And it's giving it a name. So I'm going to keep it named rail 1. So we've got this line. Now you'll see rail snap. At the moment, we've got a 50 centimeter threshold. Ideally, we want to cover all this area. So if a user appears anywhere within this area, it'll ping them straight into the middle. So if I were to increase this, let's say to 130, as you can see, it's filled up that whole aisle. And click save. Now I can go back onto the left, or I could add another rail from the right hand side. So I'm going to do that. Click add new rail, pedestrian again, and I'm going to put one directly next to it. So I've covered both sides of the aisle. And again, enter, keep it named rail 2, and again set them to 130. So now both sides, so anybody appearing maybe on top of the aisles would ping to either the left or to the right. So next we have is add node, and with node you'll see that we already have 4 junction nodes already created. And these are part of our rail, because obviously with a rail, it could be a journey, so it could be going straight ahead and then left and then right. So each of these represents a change in direction, but you can also do an entrance or an exit. If there's a lift, escalator up or down. And these will just help improve the accuracy or what features are available within the venue. Pretty much the same with add hardware device as well. Because the way that our system works is we pick up MAC addresses. So if we see a MAC address, we'll identify that on the floor plan. And then you can see where that particular MAC address moves around. But if you've got a lot of Wi-Fi enabled devices and they're in the venue, then they may be pinging up and you may presume that they're a user in that area. So adding the relevant hardware to the venue will let you know that it's a piece of hardware rather than a user. So if I were to click on add one here, so let's say we have one here. And from here you can see we've got the hardware name. So I'll keep it as hardware device 1. And to the MAC address for that device. And hardware device type, so Internet of Things device, other printer, set-top box, etc. Let's say Internet of Things, and then save. Now obviously it's just error in there saying it can't find the MAC address, but having that on there, then that particular hardware will be showing on there, so you wouldn't get that mistaken as a particular user. Obviously, if there's a user with a different MAC address there, then it will still show, so you know it's not that piece of hardware, it is a genuine user. So we've looked at everything on the left, everything on the right is the same, except obviously you will be able to access any previously created. You can expand, you can delete, you can update the details, turn the show and hide off, turn off exclusions, etc. So each of these is accessible on the left. At the top, you can save the zone. So if you wanted to quickly be able to revert back to previous saved models, you can do. It doesn't let you save on the actual demo itself. We've looked at the settings where you can show and hide, but as soon as we click on the switch to view mode, and I just expand this again, you'll see the view is slightly changed now. Left hand side we already got two options. The right hand side we have overview settings, data overlay, and visitor and devices. We can change from footfall, which is showing you the dots, to heat map, which obviously shows you a concentration of colour with the more number of users in that area. With regards to footfall, if I just go back to 100%, any pink are female, any blue are male, and any greys are unknown. You'll notice around the exclusion zones, any that are on the border would mean that they appeared in here, but it's pushed them out. You can see on our rails, it's pinged the users directly to the line in the middle, so you know exactly which aisle they're in. We've got our health and safety area over here. At the top, we can go back a previous date rather than accessing today's date. If we're accessing previous data, we can increase the speed in which they move around the venue. We can turn on live view, so this will pick up what's happening in your venue right now. As you can see, the clock is just ticking. Clicking stop will put you back to the previous time, and you can see the timeline has appeared. You can toggle this on or off, and you can see it's today's date up till the exact time now, and then all the data captured there. And we've got this little drag handle, and you can increase it. So if we wanted to see an accumulation of data between 6 and 10 today, you can drag your little handle here to start playing or pausing. So if I click on overview reports, now this is the time, so depending on what you set this, so that's 6:50. So if I were to drag this up a little bit over here where we've got more data, see it increases dramatically. So at 9:30 we had 190 devices, 25 male, 19 female. You get a breakdown of the devices, 17 Samsung as an example, what method they've logged in, so 23 Facebook, their age range, and then we're scrolling down, we get all the different zones. You can see the highlight when you're over them. It'll tell you how many is currently in that zone. So you've got 11. How many have been in that period? Now the period, if I just scroll back up to the top, is these little drag handles. So between 6 and 10 today, we know how many users within those relevant zones, as well as how many are in there right now. We can also have a look at data overlay. So I've already mentioned the male, female are unknown, and you can turn these off so you don't see those, or only see one particular type. But on top of that, we can add the age range, and you can see you've got the color coding, again, if we have this information, their login method, and their dwell time, so how long they've been stood in that particular area they're currently in. Next, we've got visitor and devices, and this will show you the known users. So we know that Oprah Winfrey's in the venue, so we can click onto Oprah. You can see there she is, and gives you the email, an image if we've got the social media image, the device they've used, the location, first visit, and their last visit. But we can also have a look at the unknowns, so those that have not logged in. So you can see we've got a Samsung device here that happens to be in this particular zone, and it could be that this zone could be a hardware shop, maybe it's an Apple store, and you can see they've got a Samsung, they're not happy, they're going to look for an Apple. You know what device they're currently using, so that could help making the sale. Scrolling to the top of the screen, we can switch back to edit mode if need be, so perhaps to create another zone or change some of the information. And we've got the settings button where again we can turn off rail snapping, so this is the rail snapping here, and exclusion zones, and obviously hide or show any of these as well.